Hello and welcome to this module where we are going to talk about splitting tasks or interrupting work. If you know that work on a particular task will be interrupted, instead of listing the task twice, you create one task and split it into two segments. So usually we need to split the tasks or interrupt the work when we know that one or more of our resources is not going to be available at a particular time during the execution of that task. It could be the facility, the building or machinery where that task will be performed is not going to be available maybe for a day or two, even a week or a month. So what we need to do is to split the task so that we have a gap between two segments of the work. So we do the first part when the machine is available, then when it's not available, nothing is happening, then we continue with the same task when the facility is back online. The other reason for splitting a task could be the fact that a resource might become unavailable for a while and then resume at a later stage. For example, a person might have a planned leave. In other words, you are scheduled to go on leave or on training, or probably they just suddenly fell ill and they are not available for the task. So we need to shelve that task for a while and then continue it when that resource becomes available again. The time of the split is not counted in the duration of the task because no work is going to be happening during the split. So if we have got an activity that has got a duration of 3 days and we split it into two segments of 2 days and 1 day, then in between we have got a gap of say 5 days. On the calendar, that task will be spanning for 8 days, the 3 days duration plus the 5 days of the split. But on our project plan, the duration of that task remains 3 days because that is the time that we are actually working on that task. In order for us to split a task into multiple segments, we need to first select the name of that task. So I'm going to take this task called digging of the foundation. That's the one that we are going to split. To split this task, after selecting its name, we go to the task tab. Then on the group schedule, we click on the icon for splitting the task. So if you do not know which icon is for splitting the task, you simply hover your mouse over these icons and the screen tip will tell you which one is split. So we click on it. What we then need to do is to go back to our Gantt chart and we look for the date when we want to start the split. So for example, on Monday the 19th of 10, that is when I want to start. So that is the only time that you now click the mouse. When you are hovering on top here, do not click until the date says Monday 19th 10 20 or whichever date you'd like to select. Once you have that date, you click, hold it down, and then you drag to the right until you see the date, the start and end date that you want. In that window which is showing. Then you release the mouse. Now you can see that it has split that task. It will end, the first segment will end on Friday. The second segment will only start the next Wednesday. If that is not the split that you want, you simply press Ctrl and Z or undo. So it's either Ctrl and Z or undo. Now suppose we would like to reschedule the second segment of the split. So you can actually move that second segment by simply pointing inside it and dragging it left or right, depending on where you want to reschedule it. So you can see that when I move that segment within this week, there is some slack here. That is why it does not affect the other activities. But let's say for argument's sake, I do Ctrl Z to undo the last move, and then I move this segment to the following week, starting on the Monday of the following week. You can see now it pushes the rest of the plan to the right, because this activity was starting on the Monday here. But because I've now moved my split so that I have got a full week here available free, so it changes the schedule of the rest of the items. When we're discussing the critical path, we talked about free slack, and we say that free slack is the slack that is available so that you can move an activity like this task without affecting the rest of the plan. So the rest of the plan is starting on this Monday. If I move this activity within its slack, right, this is all its slack within this week. As long as I move it within the slack, in other words, it's free slack, nothing happens to the rest of the plan. In other words, it does not affect the other tasks. But the moment I move it outside its free slack, it is now encroaching into the time of the other activities. So you must keep it in mind that when you split your tasks and you create idle time, what you're basically doing is eating into your slack time. So this might actually result in the delay of the whole project. So I'm going to leave my item split like that. So what you must also realize is that when you move the second segment, you do not affect the first. But when you move the first segment, you can see that it's moving together with the second. So the moment the first segment is moved, it affects the whole activity or the whole task. So you need to be careful when you move around segments on your split task. So you can see that if we want to reduce the size of the split, we only move the second segment. That's the only one that can change the size of this split. You cannot change the size of the split by moving the first, because when you move the first, it's rescheduling the whole task. Then finally, If you want to rejoin the two segments of the split, all you do is just drag the second segment until it touches the first. So in this case, there is a weekend here, so you might as well just drop it on Monday. So when you drop it on Monday, it automatically joins to the first segment and it becomes one segment. So I'd like you to play around with this splitting of tasks. You can pick any task that you wish. Select the task name, go to the task tab, and then on the schedule you select split task, and then you hover your mouse to the date where you want to split, and then you click and hold down, and then you move your segment. Alright, so when you save your document, make sure you have at least one task that is split. And you might think, is it possible to split again the same task which is already in two segments? And the answer is yes. You simply go back to task, schedule, and split, and then you go where you want to split, and we split the second segment. So in other words, we can have as many segments as are necessary when we split that task. That is depending on the availability of resources or facilities where we are working. So have fun splitting your tasks, and I will see you in the next module.